start recording. Yep. Yep, go for it.
So this is the spreadsheet I made. Spent a little bit of time on this, and basically it has the action over here, and then the note denotes the frequency and sample size. So 42% frequency flop check back from Brown in single raise pots as the small blinds, and the sample size is 626, and there are 262 checkbacks in that. He bets 31% pot about 42% of the time. He bets 75% pot about 13% of the time. And he overbets about 3% of the time. And my responses are against the 31% pot, I call 50%. I raise 17%, and I fold 33%. Against the 75% pot, I call 45%. I raise 13%, and I fold 42%. Against the overbet, I call 59%, raise 6%. It was bad hand. I knew it. I knew it was bad hand when I played it. And I fold 35%. I think this is just it's just sample size because it's only 17 hands. I just happen to have calling hands quite frequently. Yeah, so that's the gist of like the flop actions. Then I got into the turn probes. So I check turn in the when flop goes check check, I check the turn out of position 59% of the time. There's a sample size of 262 hands here. I probe small about 11% of the time. I probe medium about 6% of the time. I overbet. I probe big for 8% of the time, and I overbet probe about 5% of the time. And then I have all the I filled in all the frequencies for Brown's response to each of those probes, and my response to the raises. But that's about it. Like this took a little while to get all the way through. But like, is this
this is fun. Probably wouldn't worry too much about after you get after the turn, just because stuff gets the sample size is going to be ridiculously small. So there's not a lot of point after that. Sure, you can use this for the flop if it helps you visualize the game tree, etc. That's fine. I mean, if you prefer using notes to show the information, that's fine as well. Although I'd probably prefer to have it like more available somehow.
Yeah, I thought about that, but the issue there, I mean, like it's definitely not a perfect system, right? But the issue with that is it just takes up even more rows, and there's already like a bunch of rows, right? Like I'm on like row 42, and I just have like a very basic game tree. So I decided make everything a bit tighter and a bit neater by just putting it in notes, and you can just mouse over it to see the note, which is easy enough for me, I think.
Sure. If that's what you prefer, if you want to keep working on this yourself, you can. But I think this is fine. I don't think you should be spending too much time on this, because all of this stuff I'll end up picking up for you, right? When I go through it, I'll be doing roughly the same thing. If this helps you visualize the game tree, then that's fine. But in terms of worrying too much about the statistics that you've got, all the statistics that he has, let me do that. Okay.
Yeah, I expect you to be better at like interpreting the statistics than
me. So I wouldn't worry too much about worrying about the statistics and the frequencies. So yeah, don't worry about that. I want you instead worry about whether or not the actions that you made were correct or close to GTO. Okay. So worry less about finding frequency leaks and worry more about finding EV leaks. Yeah.
All right.
So if you think you made a mistake in a hand, like look it up in run a simulation, and then those are the kinds of mistakes that I want you to focus on. When it comes to frequency stuff, let me deal with that, and then I'll make recommendations based on what I see from all the hands. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I'll be doing a lot of that when I pick up on something. I'll let you know. I mean, the stuff that you've picked up on is fairly obvious so far. Like the barrel line, like it seems that you just gotten lucky about it. So yeah, that's good. But you also noticed that, he's barreling at a high frequency with bluffs, and you just ended up being stationary, right? He's made negative EV bluffs, and you've made negative EV calls, right? So both of you in terms of GTO are making mistakes. But it's just fortunate that your mistake ends up exploiting his mistake. And in the future, because like all those hands went to showdown, he should be going through the database and recognizing this, that you're kind of stationary, and adjust his play accordingly. Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
on the flip side, you should do the same, because right, if you've recognized that you've made a leak, and so you should adjust. How are you going for the preflop stuff? The new slight adjustments that we worked on.
So I didn't spend too much time on the preflop stuff today. I'll probably get to hammering that home tomorrow. I had to drive my sister back from the airport today, and
that's fine.
I worked a little bit and went through the database.
Yeah, I'll be building out extra preflop stuff for the slightly deeper stack sizes. So you guys been playing what, like starts at 100, very quickly gets to around 120, right? And then there's not a whole lot above 150. Well, what exactly is the rule with the resetting stacks?
So the rule with the resetting stacks is you can only reset stacks. So okay, first off, the resetting stacks is a glitch. It's not supposed to reset your stack. When you get up and sit down, it's supposed to let you buy in for the exact same amount, right? On the private tables, that is not happening. On the private tables, you get up, you retype in the password, and then it sits down with 100 big blinds again. Now, the issue with ACR, which we've discussed, is the fact that the time banks are shit. You get 15 seconds, and then you get a 30-second time bank. The time bank doesn't replenish fast at all. And so oftentimes, like, you're playing out of like a very small time bank, and Brown doesn't like that. And frankly, I don't really like that either. We both like to think through our decisions. So the rule has been, if you have under 120 big blinds on the table, you can reset your time bank. That means get up from the table and sit back down. And you can do that as many times as you want, as long as you have under 120 big blinds. As soon as you get above 120 big blinds, you can do it once per session. So once every 2-hour session that we play, you can get up and sit back down once. And so that's what we've been playing off of. That's a lot of getting up and sitting back down. And so there's been very little play over 150 big blinds. I think there was like maybe 2 or 3 300 big blind pots this entire challenge so far, which is obviously like a very low number. I won one of those last session.
All right, yeah, that's fine. That ends up just reducing the variance, which is probably a good thing in your current position, right? So yeah, I would suggest that you try to take advantage of that a bit, I guess. So like when you win a small pot or whatever, you get up to less than 120, it just resets sort of liberally. Yeah. Okay. So Marine's at 120. Yeah, he's been using He's been using let's share my screen actually. He's been using roughly the same sizes like throughout. He goes slightly bigger when you're slightly deeper. So this is the 120 sim is currently running at the moment, but I'll run a proper one in what depth. This is just for your small blind open. And you see it's very similar. The button EV is 16, so you kind of expect that when you get a little bit deeper, the easier it is for the button to play. Folding range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times the hands of folding. Calling range very similar. None of the super Broadway stuff.
When you built the game tree, how many? Oh, never mind. Sorry, I was thinking. I noticed when I was going through the database, which you also very well may have noticed, he only uses 3 c-bet sizes in single raise pots. The 31, the 75, and then the 140 or so.
Okay. Yeah, and it's the same in his 3 pots as well. Well, he uses 50 as well, but I just simplified it to the same. So like, yeah, call. All right, 30, 75, 140, 100, and 140 should roughly approximate what he's doing. And then this is sort of what you're doing with lots of different sizes. This sort of means that, you know, the simulation is going to assume that you've got a slight post-flop advantage. I can correct that if you want. If you want to, I can run simulations that assumes that you have a slight post-flop disadvantage, and then that will adjust the preflop ranges accordingly. In terms of skill edge, is what I mean.
Post-flop
skill edge.
Yeah. I remain unconvinced that I'm being outplayed post. I okay. Don't think I post.
Cool. All right. Look, if that is probably the case, because, you know, we've adjusted pre-flop in order to avoid whatever post-flop knowledge that he might have had with the game tree that he was, you know, expecting to play. So it just means that you have to continue to study post-flop in these lines that you're playing, right? Yes. And also the lines that he plays, which is like the 2.5. So yeah, when I upload the flop simulations for Monko, that'll basically give you a complete flop strategy for both in position, out of position. I mean, you already have one of those, but the more updated one I'll upload later today. So it's just that you take a good look at some of the flop things, some of the flop strategies, and it'll allow you to very quickly compare how different hands play in the different preflop lines. So say, for example, you've got the same hand, right? You want to look at like, you know, like aces or something, and you want to look at the same flop. Obviously it's not going to be great here, but you can see how the ranges play very quickly, and the frequencies on the same type of flop in different preflop line. Okay, so this is the check. This is the limp pot. This is the small raise and call, and you look at the sizes. Okay, you see it was 150, 125, right, 100, and then this is the big size, right? I got some 200, right, on queen f5, which is, you know, something I would expect, but yeah, there you go. So when you get the flop one, it'll be more accurate. Like this is just this information here is garbage. It's either 1 or a 0, like either overbets or it doesn't. But when you get the flop one, it'll tell you about what frequencies the hands will be betting which line. And then also like bet raise call as well. You see what he's doing and then what you're doing and the frequencies on that particular flop. And the frequencies and the flop strategy should be fairly accurate, but it won't have any information on the turn or the river.
Okay, that's fine.
So yeah, there you go. And you can also train against it as well from pre-flop into flop,
Nice,
opening it in
nice.
the trainer, and then basically it'll drill you on pre-flop and flop decisions.
All right.
Um, so you just have to uh, yeah, basically it'd be like um, where is this one currently? Like one of these flop ones, right? Be train. So if you haven't done this already, I would suggest to give it a try. Um, it should drill you. Should drill you for all of these.
Oh, nice.
And then that's your position. And you can in the settings you can train as, and then you swap positions. So obviously for hero equals small blind, you just say yourself the small blind. Hero equals big blind, you set to the big blind. Pause between hands, pause incorrect, pause incorrect, um, etc. So yeah, it'll help you play, and then when you make a mistake, you can go in and take a look at it, or you can open one in the trainer, and then another version of another copy of Monka with the sim on another screen. And then when you make a mistake, you can go and dig into why you made that mistake, or the ranges more, right?
Great.
And it should be like just smashing it, just drilling like pre-flop flop, pre-flop flop, pre-flop flop, pre-flop flop. And then you'll be able to pick up, okay, I made a mistake here. Why did I make a mistake? What do the ranges look like? What
Mhm.
am I not getting? All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can give that a try, and then that'll help you have a deeper understanding of, well, it's open here, um, a deeper understanding of what mistakes you're making, and hopefully you can shore up some of the pre-flop and flop mistakes, like especially EV mistakes. Like some of them won't be like EV mistakes; they might be frequency mistakes. But even then, um, like if the frequency of a particular action is zero, then like that's the main thing, right? That you've made a small EV mistake. Um,
Yeah, I'm generally finding that the EV mistakes I do make are on later streets. I don't make any. No, I can't say that. I did make a pre-flop mistake the other day. Called 10-8 suited to a 4-bet. Um, yeah, okay.
so here, for example, this one is the hero equals big blind. You can train as button +1. You press OK. Right, and then there you go, swaps you around. So now you're here.
Mhm.
Um, and then you just play it.
Yeah.
Right, and then it helps you with the flop strategy as well. Okay. I'll
All
say
right.
like you won't get the turn because average EV is required for further training, um, which is fine. Like the simulation won't get big enough. Like it's not. Yeah, I would need like 3 4 terabytes of RAM in order to try and get a get a turn river estimation. I'm pretty
Jeez.
sure. Like to get a decent one. To get the full
Yeah,
game
that's
tree.
full
Yeah,
game
yeah,
tree.
and you probably wouldn't be able to load it on your computer because you've got what 32 or 64.
Yeah, I have I I think it's 64. Yeah.
Yeah,
It will
64.
not
Like
work.
you might not be able to load it. Like this is 1 GB for pre-flop and flop, and then the turn would be it would probably immediately get to like 32, and then river would get much beyond that. So maybe I could run it to the turn, and then you get pre-flop flop turn. But the turn wouldn't be very accurate
Yeah, I think.
because I'd have to like shrink everything down.
Yeah, I think this is going to be good for pre-flop and flop, and then the turn and river study is going to primarily be done in GTO Wizard and just Pio Sims, because the viewer, like the Monker viewer, is not really, it's not good enough to put information into my brain, frankly. Like the trainer is going to be good, and then like pulling up the ranges is fine. I can study off of that. But in terms of like post flop study, especially on later streets, I prefer to use Pio and GTO Wizard just because of the UI.
All right, great. Okay, so let's use it for pre-flop and flop, and then let it basically like train against it for maybe like half an hour a day to see if it can pick up any mistakes that you're making, and then when it spots a mistake, try to pull it up in a second copy of it to see if you can understand why you made the mistake, and then I want you to then write down that hand history, and then later on dig a lot deeper into that full game tree across the turn, the river in Pio.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like the reason why you're making a mistake on the flop is because you don't understand the turn, the river decisions sufficiently deep, and so you'll end up misunderstanding why the particular decision you made on the flop was wrong. Like 75, 25, 50, 75. And when I have the new one that I run, it should have your preferred sizes. And the sizes that he uses. So it'll more closely mimic what you're actually playing when you're playing against Brandon. All right. Okay, before we move on, let's take a quick break. All right. Okay. So the next thing I want to show you up on is the basics. So yeah, so you need to send me your username, or
I think it's Chad69. I haven't used Zenith in a while.
That's fine. Yeah, just copy and paste it to me, and I'll give you all the training that I think you need. Honestly, I don't think there's going to be a huge amount.
Make sure.
If there is anything in particular that I think that we've got, it should help. So the main thing is those fundamentals, and then this stuff. And these videos are a bit old. Oh yeah. So fundamentals here. So like all of these. I mean, these are a bit. I'll probably to redo them, but basically all of these. In foundations, and then in general poker theory, these three important concepts. Probably most important.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at some of that stuff.
Yeah, and the reason why all of this is important is because it helps significantly with understanding why the solver is doing what it's doing. because solver is doing a lot of odd and strange things, and sure you can try to mimic it as closely as you can, but if you don't understand why, then it becomes a lot more difficult to make that same decision in game when you come across a spot that you haven't seen before, right?
Yeah,
So
I do understand a lot of this. I I want to say all, but I don't want to say all at the same time. I know you asked what alpha, or I asked what alpha was earlier. I knew what it was. I just didn't understand that it was called alpha. But yeah, I understand like the indifference principle. I understand like probably 80-90% of this.
okay, I don't want you
Like,
to take this the wrong way, but if you haven't studied this in a while, you should study it again, because this is the part of the game where it's like you're a basketball player and you're practicing shooting threes, right?
mm,
You're a soccer player and you're practicing penalties. You're a tennis player and you're practicing serving. Like this
mm,
stuff is basics, and you should refresh yourself regularly, right? If you don't
okay.
have a deep visceral understanding of what this stuff is, right? If you have to like think about it before you get it, before before being able to talk about it, then you're going to have issues, right? This stuff and these three. So go through all this and go through all of these. You can do it on double speed if you think you've already know it, if you think you already know it, and then slow down if you get to a spot where it's a bit confusing,
Okay.
and then just drill it in, because once you have a good understanding of this and then this, when I talk to you about solver stuff, we're on the same page. Okay. And then I don't have to go back and explain stuff again. Right. When I make an offhand comment about, okay, well, this is similar to this, and this is similar to this, and I talk about stuff like alpha, omega, um, Valar, equity, expectation, the 50% rule, um, that you understand it without me having to explain it, because then that saves us time, right? And then we're not talking past each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So go through all of that. So that's 12 videos that you need to watch. Make sure that you've watched all of them. I think this is all in the free section anyway.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, make sure you watch that. Um, yeah. Okay. All right. So is that Monka? Okay, let's go through some of the hands. First off, is there any hands that you identified that you want to look at?
Um, hmm,
Anything that you've marked? Otherwise, we'll just probably work through some of the showdown hands first, and
yeah.
then
I played a pretty funny hand at 150 bigs, but you may not find it that interesting. Uh, it was like a 3-bet bluff on the river with like a shitty blocker. But other than that, I think we can just go through the big ones and some of the showdown hands. Yeah, like you said, I think that should be sufficient.
let's go through the showdown hands first. You got 600 of them.
I want to look at the king queen hand where I called down with king high. I thought he was going to over bluff in the triple barrel line, and it was a half pot river bet. And I had king high, and it's like whatever I call, and he had jacks, and I think it might have been like pretty bad call. Yes, there it is. There it is, the king queen hand, third one down. Yeah, that one. Uh,
Okay. What exactly do you beat?
I beat 5x straight draws. I beat the suited connectors like 10-9
Okay,
and 9-8.
which five extra draws are you talking about?
Well, we're a bit deeper here, I believe. We're like 120.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think Brandon could very well be three betting me with some of the suited 5x, like Queen 5, King 5 suited, even though those hands don't really three bet that much. I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up here with them. Um, yeah, I mean, I only have to be right. What?
No,
Like
that's not.
he could be barreling with overcards as well. But like my thought process was literally, if he's over bluffing, I should always call. That was it.
No, that's not the correct thought process. So you're missing a step before you get there. Okay. And the step that you're missing is that your hand needs to be indifferent at equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I didn't think he was bluffing with ace high. I thought he
Yeah, no. So there's definitely going to be some ace highs in there,
that triple off here.
and there's going to be a significant amount of king high and queen high. So for all those reasons, at equilibrium, your hand is a massively minus EV call.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's a good call. Um, yeah, if I had the hand back, I would fold turn, but I did not. I wanted to go over it because I thought it was a mistake. But
Uh,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
my
yeah.
thought process.
Turn is probably also a fault as well. Um,
Yeah.
so I think you're reading it a bit too much. Like there's where is my talent thingy? Um,
I think this might be the worst hand of the challenge so far.
yeah, it's pretty horrendous. So your hands, okay, like if you think about, like, say this is your range and then this is your opponent's range. Okay, and like your opponent is somewhat polar, so like they're betting hands that are like here and here.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is their betting like strategy, and like you just call down, right? You're calling down according to alpha, all right? If your hand, like, sure, you're in position, so that's going to change things a little bit. Um, here on the turn, right? On the turn, and after you call the flop as well. So like you call the flop, okay, you call the turn, okay. Once you get to this particular situation, like you've got um a good chunk of your range missing. So like you're already missing a bunch of like these hands here. You're missing a bunch of these hands here, right?
Yes.
So like your range is already like missing this stuff. So the stuff's already disappeared. Okay. Um, and then like you need to decide which of these hands you need to call with, right? And then he's going to um, give up with a bunch of crap, right? When you want to decide which hands you want to call, okay, you should be, calling roughly according to alpha. So here he bets like half pot all in on the river,
Yeah.
less than half pot all in the river. That means like you fold about 30 of range. So like you fold here, okay, and then like it's going to be the hands around here, okay. Let's say this. It's going to be like these sorts of hands that are going to be indifferent, right? So it'll end up like you should have a bunch of different hands at like some kind of angle here, which are folding. Where on the right you fold, on the left you call, and all the hands in between are indifferent. Okay,
Yes.
so
I
every
understand
hand
the
between
concept of
here and
indifference.
here is indifferent. Yeah,
Yeah.
every hand between here and here is indifferent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I think you're right. My hand is not indifferent on the turn, especially. I think it's probably just a pure fold. I think on the river, I mean,
Yeah. Okay. I
it
think
really comes down to whether he's
let's not go ahead of ourselves, right? So
so I think
so
it's
you get to
bad.
the river here. Where is your hand? If your hand is in this um in this part and he's over bluffing, then you can shift them all up to a call, and then
Mhm.
you call all of it or fold
Yeah.
all of it, depending on whether he's over bluffing or under bluffing. But you should still fold this bit because this bit overlaps with his bluffs, and you need a extremely good reason for him to like. He has to be like massively over bluffing in order for you to decide to want to call one of these hands, because these hands overlap with his bluffs, so you actually might get value owned. Like if you showed up with ace high and you made this call, how would
Mhm.
you have felt? Right? It would
Oh,
be
yeah.
like, this is catastrophic, right?
Yeah.
So don't put yourself in that situation,
Mhm.
right? If he had king queen himself and you showed up and you just chopped, like that's shit, right? So the fact is, like, your king queen, it blocks a lot of his bluffs and it loses to some of his bluffs. Like he might be bluffing like ace two, ace five, ace three, right? To try and try to get you off ace queen, which is like a decent hand to call. King
Yeah.
queen
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
right?
That's fair. Mhm. Yeah, my
Another thing.
analysis of the situation was basically I don't think he's going to bluff ace high here. I think he's overbarreling. I agree that it's very bad, potentially because he may bluff ace high, and that combined with the fact that king high and queen high are his potential bluffs that I had envisioned, in addition to the suited connectors. I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Okay, great. The other thing is that if you're indifferent on the previous street and the next street comes and nothing really changes, it's like it's a brick, and you get bet into
Mhm.
again, you're almost always folding.
Mhm. I understand.
Okay, so like if you identified that like you were indifferent on the flop here, like you're indifferent on the flop, you call, the four comes, nothing improves with your hand, you face another bet, and this hand is minus EV to call. Like you know
Yeah.
that automatically,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're indifferent on the previous street. So like you understand these sort of multi-street dynamics. You're indifferent on the previous street, right? You know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the turn, nothing happens, nothing changes really. You face another bet. Now it's a fold. And then we
Yeah.
get to the river here, like you should have folded on the turn. You should definitely
Yeah.
fold here.
I agree.
There's very rare situations where that would not be the case.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
Um,
It's bad. Look, that's why I sent it to you. Because I'm like, hey, look at this hand. It's really bad. And now you're telling me, yeah, it is really bad. I'm like, yeah. I think it's like the worst hand I played in the challenge. Like,
like say for example here, this is just a random throw a pot sim bet. This Jack 10 is like indifferent. This Jack 9 is indifferent. Like brick on the turn, bet again. The massive EV folds. Right, like calling is minus 10 VB.
yeah, yeah.
Right, so the same hands that were indifferent are now also indifferent on the next street.
Yeah, I
Um,
understand the concepts at play.
so
Uh,
I'm auto folds in the next street.
mhm.
Um, this wasn't a flush draw, maybe like bet here, like some hands like here, this pocket jacks is indifferent, like call three in the river, jam, and it's always a fold. So like the hands that you know were indifferent on the previous street are auto folds on the next street.
Mhm.
Okay, the reason why they were indifferent on the previous street is because you expect him to give up with his bluffs on the next street, and if that doesn't happen, your hand should auto fold. So
Yes.
remember that idea going forward, like especially when things brick out. It's different if you got a draw and you improve, obviously, or if you got a backdoor draw and you improve, obviously. But if you have like a showdown bluff catcher, yeah, just fold. Okay, let's take a look at the other ones. The reason I'm drilling like it might seem like I'm spending too much time on this is because like if I drill it into you now and you feel really bad, you remember to never do it again.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We might have went through this one already.
Yeah, this was early in the challenge.
Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
His hand should like basically pure fold river, but like this is another spot where it's like it's technically an indifferent call, but I mean he's been like it's a 0% frequency call. He's been stationing me really hard like all challenge, and this is an example of one of those times. My hand was good there. I checked it in the solver. 30% flop raise and then pure barrel turn.
Yep, sure. Yep, good. So unfortunately, they got the flush, but not much you can do about that. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's reasonable. The flop is probably where you need to reevaluate things.
With the 6-5.
Yeah. I know it's a quad pot bet.
No way. There's no way.
You're probably indifferent on the flop.
I don't think I'm indifferent on the flop. Against quarter pot in position, I don't think I'm indifferent on the flop. I think it's a pure continue. I don't think it's close either. I think it's like I
Maybe
can
you
check
just have to
it.
think about which hands you're folding, right?
Yeah, sure. I'll check that in GTO Wizard now.
Yeah. Take a think about which hands you're folding. Whenever you're facing a bet and your hand is a little bit light, like you need to think about which hands you're folding.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I remember that one. The turn size was too small for me. I should go half pot, I think, was what the solver recommended. And the solver
Yeah, so
doesn't jam
usually
turn.
on these double flush draw boards, you want to size up a bit because if you just bet small, it's too easy for him to float and then donk the river. When he makes those, because he's got two flush draws. It's too easy for him to just call them both and then donk the river when the other one improves or whatever. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, he made a straight flush. Oh, go on.
Yeah, almost
Almost what?
almost a straight flush.
Oh, no, my bad.
Yeah.
Misread it.
Yeah, my with the 6-5 hand, it's like a one big blind mistake to full flop.
Okay, sure. Maybe I played too much 6 max, which is definitely a possibility. Check. Cool.
Oh, this hurt my soul. I RNG'd some raises and I RNG'd some folds, and I checked in the solver afterward, and the solver is indifferent between all three. But I hated life so much. His hand is like a 10 big blind mistake to do this on the river. It's like it's so bad. Like you're just getting called by sets and two pairs, and like maybe once in a blue moon I have like ace five offsuit or some bullshit. Like, oh, it's so bad to donk the river. Like, oh my gosh, with his hand, it's not bad to donk jam the river. He's got a bunch of tens, but this is just retarded, man. Oh, the solver.
Yeah. Okay. So here
Mhm.
we face this bet. Do you think you're indifferent at equilibrium?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
The
I
next
did
step
think I was
is
indifferent.
okay. The next step is, do you think he's over bluffing?
Um, I didn't know, so I decided to just RNG it and try to play close to GTO. It was tough. So I sat there tanking. I'm like, all right, what are his bluffs? Like maybe he's got like nine, like queen nine suited or jack nine suited, or some sort of flush draw that was like going to check raise the turn and then like got a little scared against the big bet. Um, so I was like trying to think of stuff, but it's like, you know, if if his range construction here, and I know you hate when I say this, but if his range construction here has more than like 19% bluffs, what is this? What do I need? I need like
17.
17% bluffs. If his range construction contains more than like 17% bluffs, it's like you just gotta flick it in and lose like most of the time. But yeah, I did RNG some raises. I thought raising was like not a terrible move. I think I felt like he could have like some sort of like king queen or queen jack hand here, that was like going like super thin. Like even that, like this is it's like such a bad bet with two pair. But yeah, I mean, like I checked it in the solver. The solver thinks it's indifferent, so I'm okay with that, I guess.
Okay, yep, that's not the question I was. So we get this, and it's indifferent, but then does he overbluff or underbluff is the next part of the question. So like when you have these, you're making this decision, right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing that I try to explain to you in paint, uh, with the block with the boxes and the colors. Okay, you identify that you're indifferent. Okay, if you don't know, then you flip a coin, right? Doesn't matter, like 50-50 or whatever, right? Um, if you okay, so like if you're indifferent, right? If you're 100% sure that you're indifferent in the solver, right? Then the next question is, does he overbluff or underbluff? If he overbluffs, then you call. If it's underbluffs, then you fold. And if you're not sure, then you flip the coin. Okay, so this is what you need to.
Yeah, yeah. I
This this
wasn't
is
sure
the
when I
this is
flipped
the
the coin.
decision. This is the decision process that you should be making every single time you face a bet, right? And you've got a hand that's indifferent. Okay.
Yeah, I went through that. I went through that whole process.
Yeah. So when you're talking to me, this is what you need to be explaining.
All
Okay,
right.
I made this decision because I thought I was indifferent and I didn't know whether he was bluffing or under bluffing, so I flipped a coin. Right.
Mm, yes.
So then you get really disciplined with the way that you're thinking, rather than having things jumble around and then you use up all your time bank. Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So we're two examples. So here.
Yes. This was fine at what I RNG'd.
No. So go through the thought process again. So you're facing a bet. Is his hand indifferent at equilibrium, do you think?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you think he's over bluffing or under bluffing?
Uh, for the block size, I'm not positive. And this
Okay.
was also this was like very early in the challenge,
Yeah,
so I
that's
had like
fine. So you're not sure. So I don't want you to think back. I want you to think now. So you're not
mhm.
sure. So you RNG'd. Okay, RNG'd a call.
Yes.
10. You face this bet.
Mhm.
Okay, now. Different.
Yes.
Okay, it's different.
Based
At
on the
equilibrium.
criteria you laid out.
Yeah,
At
it's different at
equilibrium,
equilibrium.
it's like a +1 big blind call because of the blockers, but outside of the blocker considerations, it's going to be indifferent, right?
Yeah, sure. So very, very close to indifferent, right? It's the
Yeah.
same sort of idea, very, very close to indifferent. It's underneath his value hands and above his bluffs, right?
Yes.
Once you identify that this is the type of hand that you're calling with, where basically you're doing pure bluff catching, right? And the next bit is he over bluffing or under bluffing?
Yes, he's probably under bluffing the spot slightly, but I mean it's
Okay. And then the answer is to fold. And if he's not sure, like then you can, like, if you're not sure, then you can flip a coin or you can look at your blockers or whatever, right? So like
yeah.
you're thinking about your hand is in between his value and his bluffs, right? There's no overlap. Like he wouldn't ever do this with a 10 because it doesn't make any sense. Then you look over bluff, under bluff. If you're not sure, then the next step is, you can identify blockers or whatever, right? Or you can flip a coin because you know that he's going to be close.
Yeah, I mean that is my thought process and all this.
Yeah, but like I know it's your thought process, but it takes you a long time to get there because you're jumbling around, so you got just jumbling around of thoughts, which is fine because like you haven't trained yourself to think this way. But once you do like drill this into yourself, like drill it into yourself, just bang 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 bang, do this 1,000 times, it'll be like boom, I've already figured out what the correct action is because I've gone through the tree in my head very quickly rather than jumbling it around and then eventually getting there.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I know is what you do, but the fact is that
Hold up.
it's not smashing it into you very quickly.
Okay,
You get there very slowly, which is fine because
when you say it's jumbling around in my brain, what leads you to that conclusion?
the way that you're talking about the hand.
Okay, I will do my best to
So
talk about
either you're articulating your thoughts poorly, which is another possibility, or your thoughts
I think
are a
that's
bit,
it.
or your thoughts are a bit all over the place. Either way, this is going to eat up into your time bank, and it's going to lead to mistakes. Okay, so what I'm saying is that every single time that you face a spot, right, where you're facing a bet, this is the thought process that you should be going through. Okay, and then once you, yeah, I understand that you do, but you're not doing it formally. Like you're doing it in a roundabout way, but jump through the tree that I'm trying to highlight to you. Is the hand above his bluffs and below his value? Yes or no? If yes, then you go to the next step. Is he under bluffing, over bluffing, or do you not know? Right, under over bluff call, under bluff fold. Don't know. You can go to the next step with blockers or flip a coin. Right, blockers call, bad blockers fold. Not sure, flip a coin. Right.
Yes.
That's the thought process. It's a multi-step. It's like a flow chart, right? Once you understand, once you get the flow chart like imprinted into your brain, you should be able to make that assessment very quickly in like 5 seconds rather than 15 seconds plus your 30-second time bank.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, yeah. So we're just practicing this. We're just practicing this drill. Okay.
Yes.
Faces raise. So what's the first step?
Is my hand indifferent? No, it's not.
Why is that?
Because of good blockers.
Yeah. So no, that's so here when I'm saying indifferent, I mean like below his value and above his bluffs.
On like the flop and turn. Like I understand.
Yeah. Below his value and above his bluffs. So like your hand is close to indifferent. Is your hand close to indifferent? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Is he overbluffing or underbluffing?
Uh, on the flop, I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, next step, blockers. Good blockers, bad blockers.
Good blockers.
All right, cool. There you go. Yeah.
I'm also wait. I am ahead of value because he's. I think he's supposed to check raise like king nine there, and like some nine X.
Uh, yeah, maybe for the size.
So it's like
This
yeah,
size is a bit big. It's a pot size one. This is
yeah,
half pot
yeah. It's a
one.
bit
If it
different.
was half pot, then yeah, you're actually ahead of the king nine. Okay. Next step. All right, just do it again. Get your hand
Uh,
close to indifferent.
yes. Here I actually had to like think about like whether I should call or fold this.
Yeah. So is your hand close to indifferent?
Yes.
All right. Is he
And
overbluffing or underbluffing?
uh,
Or do you not know?
my intuition tells me he's probably overbarreling his draws here.
Okay, so you call, right?
Yeah, and also I
Really?
have good blockers. IRNG raises here, and I hated life, but I did make the call because I had the ace, which is
Okay, yeah. So thought process. Is your hand close to indifferent?
yes, very close.
Overbluffing, underbluffing.
Uh, it's probably hmm,
So 17%.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to say I don't know.
All right, you don't know. Good blockers or bad blockers?
Uh, okay, blockers.
Okay, so the ace blocks the hearts.
Yeah, and the two is like
The two doesn't really do anything.
yeah. Um,
So is your blockers on average good or bad?
I guess average. Like I could have like ace nine here with like some sort of straight blocker and the heart. And this is like I mean it's pretty shit, but he could definitely show up here with like 6-5, which was a double gutter on the turn or something like that.
Yeah. So we've already addressed that in the previous step where there's overbluffing, underbluffing. So yeah, he can show up with some crap.
Yeah. Yeah, that has to do with like the blocker thought process as well though.
Yeah. So yeah, and then your blockers. So does the ace block stuff? It blocks the flush draw. Does two block stuff, or does it block?
It unblocks stuff.
So
It
it unblocks
unblocks.
stuff. So it's a negative blocker.
Mhm.
So it doesn't block any of the value. So we have to think about what the value would be. So it's going to be some two pair stuff. And then in terms of bluffs, does the two block any of the bluffs?
No, it's not.
Okay, so it doesn't block any of the bluffs. So it's probably okay. Okay, especially when you face a very small bet, it's very important not to block bluffs. Like incredibly important. So if this two was like a 4 or 5 or a 6, or an 8, then maybe not an 8 because that also blocks some value, but definitely like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah,
Then
five or
you block
six.
that 6-5 combo and becomes catastrophic because you end up blocking that 6-5, which is like
Mhm.
basically the only hand um that you're beating. So here it's going to be reasonable to call. Right, you're going to have a very tiny EV, if any, assuming the previous steps in the thought process was correct. And if you're just not sure, then you could flip a coin.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, I did also RNG raises. I think raising is like maybe fine. Uh, yeah. I think in hindsight, raise might be the best play. I didn't run it in the sim, but uh, I think that it's very unlikely the small size is balanced. I don't think he has enough flushes in the small size, and he may overfold to a jam in that spot. And I have reasonable blockers to make that move. Although the ace of hearts is less relevant given the fact that he seems to be three betting a more merged range, so there's going to be less suited aces in his just single raise pot big blind defend range. But I mean, like it's still not a bad blocker, and I think going all in there is like a fine play.
All right. Sure. Okay. Sand. So yeah, this is a limp 3-bet pot. Check, check. Pot size bet. All right, your hand close to indifferent.
No.
Okay, cool. Right, you can do this with the set of fives, sure. Now is your hand close to indifferent?
Yes.
Okay. Next step is overbluff, underbluff.
Didn't know.
Okay. Is it good blockers or bad blockers?
Good blockers.
Why is it good blockers?
Because, well, they're unblockers, I guess. But I have a bunch of hands here, like, like King 10 of Hearts, King Jack of Diamonds, or whatever, that have like demonstrably bad blockers. So given that fact, it's like he's not going to be bluffing with a queen here, like ever. I don't think. I can't think of a hand that he would be bluffing with the queen. It's not as good as like pocket kings. I think. I think pocket kings is actually like a pretty slam dunk call because he could value bet like king jack offsuit on the turn, potentially with like the jack of spades and then do this on the river. Although jack of spades is worth more than this, I think. But I mean, it's still not bad, even though he's not going to like be betting queen jack with the jack of spades on the turn. So big. Like yeah, I wouldn't expect that to be in his turn barrel range. So it's not as good as like pocket king.
Okay, so you're facing a really small bet. What hands do you think he's bluffing with?
A lot of jack 10 without a spade. Jack 9 suited could potentially be. I mean, it's possible he's bluffing with a pair. Like, I mean, like ace jack, ace 10, maybe like ace 4. It's not great.
So
but...
yeah, you're not sure whether it's overbluffing or underbluffing, and your hand doesn't block any of his bluffs. I mean, it doesn't really block his value either because the value is a flush. So you can call, right? Bet raise. So you got the open and a straight draw, so it's going to be a call. It's a big raise, 1.5.
Yeah, I think I RNG'd some folds because there are like quite a few open enders there. So I did RNG some folds.
Yeah, there's a few. This one always makes the nuts on both sides, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So usually the ones that always make the nuts is a call, like here, because the 6 will also complete the 8-5 and the 5-3. So the 5-3 is the second.
It doesn't have too much
second straight.
8-5 and 5-3 because he would only have those of the suited kind. And
No, you have 5-3. You have 5-3.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, so like that particular combo could be indifferent against a big raise, but either way, like a lot of them are going to be calling that. That's mainly because of the 6, just because like the 9-8 covers you on the 6 a significant amount. Like you don't really need as much coverage on the 6 with the other draw combos. So like the ones which also cover the 6 become much closer to folds, or if not folds. So definitely the 8-5 is just a gut shot.
Yeah.
So that would always fold. The 5-3 covers you on the ace. Okay. All right, just go through it just as a drill for practice. Indifferent, non-indifferent.
Not indifferent.
Why is that?
I'm ahead of value.
Right.
There's gonna be a bunch of 3x.
Now, indifferent, non-indifferent.
Indifferent.
Is he bluffing, over bluffing? Underbluffing, over bluffing?
Bluffing. Don't know.
All right. Good blockers.
There's going to be a lot of don't know if he's over bluffing or under bluffing.
All right, good blockers or bad blockers?
Good blockers, I would say.
Why is that?
We unblock the straight draws and we unblock the spades. And if the spades do complete on the 8 of spades, we probably sack him. So
All right, so yep, so you can make an argument that you could probably go for a call. Now,
did I call this on the river?
so yeah, so we're just going through the decision process. Any question different?
It's probably
Are you ahead of bluffs and behind value?
yes, it is indifferent.
Okay, is he over-bluffing or under-bluffing?
Don't know.
Okay, good blockers, bad blockers.
I think there's actually like a reasonable chance he's over bluffing this with his straight draws.
Okay.
Like, yeah, like
look, if you think that's the case, if you think it's the case, 17%, right, and you don't block any of those straight draws, then yeah, it's a reasonable call, right? If you're not sure, then the question is good blockers, bad blockers.
Yeah.
Is good blockers good or blockers bad?
Bad blockers.
Or bad blockers then would be followed. So you need to be pretty confident that he's over bluffing, under bluffing there.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like you see how like the decision tree like makes things very quick, and you don't have to jump around so much.
Yeah,
and like become a little bit more confident in your answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got shot. And you go for the rose. Equals ace high. Okay.
He does not believe me ever. And this is like the worst ace high to call too. It's like you just block all my bluffs.
Yeah. You might be too polar sometimes. So like if you try something like this with the odd ace high yourself, and he suddenly gets value owned, like he'll learn his lesson pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And like you probably should be doing that with some ace highs yourself on this sort of river, especially like ace high with a like if you do have some ace highs, ace high with like a single spade, ace of spades, or the other spade, like if you have ace 8 of spades or something.
Yeah.
Like you do this, I mean, it would end up being a chop anyway, but
it's such a bad target hand.
All right, excellent. That's very, very well played. All right, we'll go through the decision process again.
Not indifferent because he could reasonably be value betting worse for this size. This is like less than 1/3 pot, I think. And
so do you think he could be doing this with a weaker 9?
Yeah.
Which one?
Potentially like 10-9 suited, 9-7 suited, something like that. Like I understand.
We do this with an 8?
I don't think so. I think an 8 would be a bit too thin here. Like even if the solver doesn't do it, I wouldn't be surprised if Brown showed up here with like 9-7 suited or something.
All right, yeah.
This one, yeah, it's definitely indifferent.
Okay. Over bluffing, under bluffing.
The line was check flop.
Bet call, bet river.
He blocks turn and then blocks river. It kind of felt like he very well could be over bluffing this. Just like,
yeah. All right, like, what would he be bluffing with?
Ace 10, ace jack, like king jack, king 10 suited type hands that
all right, great.
Don't contain.
So I think he's over bluffing. You go for the call, and you're shown wrong. That's fine. All right, just so we can drill in the decision tree.
Mm-hmm.
Indifferent?
No, not indifferent. Although not loving.
Why is that?
Could potentially be ahead of ace 9, ace 8 type hands. I don't think those hands should overbet the turn very much.
Oh, yeah.
Like they could. Here I think it probably is indifferent.
All right,
I
overbluffing, underbluffing.
um hmm, overbluffing, underbluffing. Don't know.
Good
Like
blockers, bad
he's
blockers.
got enough value. Uh, good blockers. Like having the ace is good, and then the jack unblocks a bunch of straight draws. I don't care that much about blocking 7-4, because he should only have 7-4 suited, and he might three bet that pre-flop.
All right, cool. I mean, the jack also blocks jack 10. So why see anything
Yeah.
about that?
What do I think about the jack
Jack
10?
10, king jack.
I don't think he's quite as likely to overbet the turn with jack 10.
King jack,
Um,
jack 10, king jack. Those are definitely bluffs. I mean, the hearts is probably okay. Like, I'm not too sure how much diamonds he's going to be throwing in. So it's probably maybe neutral blockers. Like the ace is fine because it blocks certain value hands, but the jack potentially could be blocking some of the bluffs. So then you can just RNG river.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So you're trying to rep a queen, and you got one blocker at least. Recall, recall, recall. Check, check. Um,
I think I'm. I think. I think my king has a little bit of showdown here. Number one and number two. I think I'm probably floating the turn with like the low gut shots.
yeah, the
Five,
two
four.
small bets probably necessary. Like you get incredibly good odds, and when you get incredibly good odds and you just brick out, especially have a middle and nice shadow value, there's no real need to bluff. It's different if you have really bad odds. If you have really bad odds with your draw, then you need to turn it into a bluff on the next trip because he should be using a lot of bluffs. Um, because like there's two components going into the decision to call with the draw. It's one, whether your draw will make it enough of the time to justify just calling on those grounds, and then two, whether he's going to have a bluff that gives up and you can bluff him off that hand,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
maybe some other hands as well. Right, in that
Yes.
particular situation, the bet size is so small that you just call because you have direct odds, and then you don't have to like you don't really need to make those real bluffs. You just like call down because you have direct odds, and then you just like, oh well, I lose because of the deck. Um, so right now,
Big bet on
I'll
flop.
just call.
I I I think he's under bluffing this, and I called. I'm like, I tanked this down to like my last second in the time bank.
Okay, so we just go through the
But
decision tree. Is your hand indifferent?
yeah, it is
Okay,
indifferent.
over bluffing, under bluffing,
Uh, under bluffing, I think.
under bluffing. So
Uh,
fold. There you go.
in hindsight, I'm like, oh, he's definitely under bluffing this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So you can see like the next time you face a decision, like you don't end up chewing through all of your time bank just to try to make because you have a decision tree to fall back on now, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're not sure, like you just go through your decision tree, right? So it's
Yeah.
so the reason why I'm
I
doing
I
this into
do
you is because it's going to help you.
I do use the essentially like the indifference principle is what it is just what it is. It's like, is your
Yeah,
hand
but what I'm trying to drill into
bluffs?
is this particular
Okay.
this decision tree that we've highlighted.
Mhm.
Okay, you should remember it by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's fine. No, it just calls. Okay, it's a bit tight. Okay, so go through the decision tree.
My hand is indifferent. Uh, I I don't know if he's over bluffing or under bluffing. He's probably bluffing about right here, and I have really good blockers, so I called.
Good. So you see how quick that was?
Yeah.
Took you all of 5 seconds to make a
Yeah.
positivity call.
Mhm.
Straight draw. Okay, here you go.
Indifferent. Um, to answer the second question, I actually have to like think through the line and like look at the board.
Yeah, go.
They probe turn, then goes for the smaller bet on the river. I mean, it's tough to say because he's gonna have like I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up here with a flush draw. Um, and obviously like the Jack 9, Queen Jack type hands are going to be in there. So it's hard to say. He might be slightly over bluffing, but it's like it's just guesswork. And then my
Okay,
blockers.
so you're not sure what's the next bit?
Blockers, which my blockers are not bad. He's probably not bluffing with a 7 unless it's like Jack 7 exactly, which is like just a gut shot on the turn. But he also might choose to go bigger with that. I think in hindsight, it's a bit better to call with like, man, I don't know. What
So
size do you go on the
I'm not
turn?
asking about another hand, I'm asking about this one. So good blockers, bad blockers.
Good blockers, I guess.
Okay. Why is your 7 good?
Blocks 9-7, and then the
Okay, and
6
why is your
blocks.
6 good? Blocks 2
Blocks
pairs. All right. Great. Okay. I mean, sure, the EV of the call gets smaller the further you get into that decision tree, right?
Mhm.
So it might be a slightly plus EV call. Might still be 0, but at least then you're not making an obvious mistake.
Mhm.
Okay, what do you think?
Uh, Pretty close to indifferent.
Okay,
But good
next
blockers.
step.
Under bluffing, over bluffing. I don't know.
43%.
43%. Yeah, I don't know. Like he could very well have like, 3 deuce or 4-5 or something like that, something that blocks the straight. Or he could just have the straight or
Okay, next step. Good blockers, bad blockers.
Good blockers.
Why is that?
Now I need to think about it. Like I think a lot of his bluff raises are going to be like the low card and a blocker. But at the same time, I mean, is this ooh in hindsight? I mean, he's also going to be like check raising a bunch of 2 pairs though. I mean, like maybe it's I don't know. I don't know. This one's tough because I think he's going to be.
Does he bluff raise a 3?
Yeah. That's what I'm.
Does he bluff raise an 8?
Yes. Oh, so
He's
bad
just
blockers,
gonna
I guess.
bluff raise an 8. Okay. Does he value bet? Does he value raise like this with king 3 or king 8?
Yeah.
Does he value raise with the same hand?
Um,
No, because
Probably a bit
we
smaller.
already answered that decision in the first one, right?
Yeah. It's indifferent. Yeah, he'd go
Okay,
smaller.
so if you think he's doing this king 3, king 8, ace 3, ace 8.
Yeah, I just think his bluffs have like many of the same cards as his value hand, as they should. But
Okay, so great. And then so you're not sure, and then what's the next thing?
flip a coin, I guess.
Flip a coin. There you go. So did you flip a coin?
No.
All right, that's fine. Next time you get to it, you flip a coin.
Yeah, yeah. Not indifferent. Well,
Yeah. So blockers things is on the river on like earlier streets.
okay.
You can
My
kind of
hand has
substitute
the
blockers
equity to call the flop.
with backdoor draws, with like backdoor draws and stuff. So yeah. Okay, here in the river.
It is indifferent. Then it's over bluffing, under bluffing. Don't know. There's a lot of straight draws that bricked. Good blockers though. And I did make the call with the good blockers.
All right, good luck.
I would fold like 6-5 here, like 100% of the time.
Great. Okay. So yeah, good blockers gives you a call. I mean, the EV of the call is still going to be very close to zero, but at least then, like, you go through the decision tree and you don't make an obvious mistake, right? Like, it goes through a decision tree. You're going to make it roughly the same. Roughly, you're going to get roughly the same answer as the solver will, right? But the solver does it very precisely, and you're doing it basically brain solving. And you do this quickly, right? Because it's just like, I'm checking to make sure that I haven't made a horrendous mistake. Is why we're doing this.
Yeah, for sure. Mm. Mm. Oh, I thought he was over bluffing. Was the spot.
Okay, so you're indifferent and you thought he was over bluffing. All right, right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's a very disciplined
Annoying.
check back. I mean, obviously it's pretty easy to check back because any pair beats you now. But yeah, great. So you donk, you raise, the next quads. You're straight. It's basically, counterfeit because of all the pairs that beat you. I mean, maybe you.
Yeah, it's like ace five, ace four. I can still beat.
Yeah, you still beat some like ace highs and stuff. Yeah. So no need to
I also
bluff the
chop
hand.
with the 5-4, so I don't have to bluff him off 5-4.
You chop with his 5-4, yeah. All right, yeah.
Indifferent. This was also very early in the match. I was not sure about it, about whether he was over bluffing or under bluffing the spot.
Okay, and what about now?
Now I think I should just fold this. I think he's probably slightly under bluffing. Yeah, by like a very small amount. The thing is, like, a lot of the straight draws paired up on the 4. So he's gonna have fewer intuitive bluffs, and I think he would take this size with like almost any 5. But
Great.
yeah, solver did not like this call.
Yeah, so should be a fold. Great.
Yeah.
Check for the turn. Records on the river.
Not indifferent.
Yeah, because you just beat a 10, right?
Yes.
Very easy. Like the real question is like, because
should I raise?
Because he's beat a 10 so hard, is should you raise? And
yeah,
you're lucky you didn't.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't. He's like, and you probably showed the down his hand. It's like, why didn't you raise? That's what I was trying to get you to do.
Yeah.
So I guess you're very lucky in making the mistake of not raising, because like we can go through another decision process with the raising is very similar. Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
do
I beat a lot of his value? And the answer is, well, yeah, you beat a significant amount of his value here. You beat 10-9 as well, right? So like it probably should be a raise. or at
I
least sort
thought
of
I thought
indifferent
it was like
between
extremely close.
indifferent
It's either like
between raising and calling. The thing is
yeah, yeah.
like
It felt indifferent
he
between
puts this
raising and
hand in
calling.
because it's got the 10 blocker, but also blocks the 7. Right. The other thing is that does he have any sevens in this size? The answer is probably not. So probably this is the only hand, and 10-9, and yeah, maybe it's like a touch of sevens, maybe. No, this is the main one. Yeah, this is the main one he's using to protect the 10x and also the 10-9 as well. So like given that like he's using 10-9 and 10-7 to protect his 10x, and you
Yeah, I
beat
think this.
10-9, that
Yeah.
leads you to probably always raise
Mhm.
because he will call with 10-9 and you beat that,
Yeah, I
right?
think this is like a good hand to put into the 3/4 size to protect the 10, and then I think like 9/7 should probably check.
9-7 bet small because of 9 bet small.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess a 9 could bet small. Okay, that's fair. But I don't know. But it blocks the imposition check back range because I'm probably not going to value bet a 9 on the river. Um,
No,
after
like after it goes check all the way down, you bet call, check check. Yeah, you can probably bet a 9.
9 feels pretty. 9 feels pretty thin. Um, like I think he might be able to block bet a 9 super small, but I think after like if I had bet at 1/3 on the flop, I think maybe you could make the case for betting a 9. But I think after the 2/3 flop bet, he just has like a bunch of better hands. And he doesn't like have that many like just like random ace highs, you know, that are
Why
gonna
not?
float the flop. It's like ace high with a diamond, maybe.
Ace eight, ace jack three bets pre-flop, ace eight, ace six, ace with a diamond.
I think ace six might even fold against this if it doesn't have a diamond. Like it probably pure folds if it doesn't have a diamond. So I don't think he has like that many non-showdown
Okay.
hands. So
So anyway, that's not really the point here. So here, like here is repping a 10. What
mhm.
hands is he using to protect the 10, the 10-7, and the 10-9?
Yeah.
Because the 10-9 protects up against raises by ace 10, somewhat.
Mhm.
So you beat 10-9, so you should always raise the value, right? Because you beat some of the hands he's using to protect this size.
Mm. I wouldn't put it past him to occasionally throw in the 7 into the size. It's like I understand that the thing that makes my hand, if my hand is indifferent between calling and raising, the thing that makes that hand indifferent between calling and raising is how frequently he's protecting this size with either a 7 or a full house.
Yeah, so he's always going to protect it with this full house, as he should.
Mm-hmm.
He should also probably protect it with 10-9.
Yes, and he may potentially protect it with some straights as well. I don't know. And so really just the question
Okay.
comes down to
I think I
whether or
think I
not
think
I
I
should
think
raise this.
you should take this hand. Right. Copy this one down, and take a really good look in the solver. Okay.
I've G2 Wizard up right now. We can look at it.
Sure.
So
Let me share your screen.
yeah, yeah, sure. Um, screen. Okay. All right. So Kings goes for the 2/3. Goes for the call. Turn was the 7 of spades. I RNG to check on the turn. Yeah. So check it back. The river was 4 spades, I think. At 7, I guess. It's
You about what, 3/4? Or does that say you're indifferent?
Yeah, it doesn't have 3/4 as 60%, but like it should be close enough. But yeah, it did feel in game like it was going to be indifferent between a call and a
All right,
raise.
cool. What is he betting on the river for this size?
Um, so so yeah, it's representing like a 10, right?
Yeah, and
Probably
so
a
then
strong
let's have a look at the nines.
um his nines are pure blocking and his tens are mostly blocking if they're weaker, but if they're stronger, they are going for the bigger size. And then yeah, this size isn't used that much. And then the 7x are occasionally being thrown into the block bet. Um, yeah, yeah.
But usually the 7 bets big, and then the straight 8-6 bets big as well.
Yeah, so
Okay,
really it's just
so
a question of like if he has enough 7x in this
yeah, so these
size.
these river dynamics come up pretty frequently. Like after it checks her on the turn or something like that. Like this sort of stuff happen pretty frequently, where you get a lot of blocks, decisions to raise, hands being put into an overbet size, hands being put into a smaller size. Like this stuff is like stuff that you should know or should be able to intuit very
Yeah,
quickly,
yeah.
because it's a very simple part of the tree, because there's no more future decisions. It's just like if the river checks through on the previous street, certain hands are going to block, certain hands are going to raise, certain hands are going to use to protect, and so you should get really good at all of these sorts of river decisions. So yeah, I mean, you identified that it was indifferent, and then the next thing is, is he protecting it enough, right? So like so the decision tree would be like, are you indifferent between calling and raising for value? All right, well, okay, yeah, you're indifferent between calling and raising for value. Next up, is he protecting this size enough with strong hands? Okay, well, yes or no. If he's protecting it enough, is it protecting it too much or protecting it too little? Protecting it too much, you just call. Protecting it too little, you raise.
Yes.
Right. I don't think there's really another step to that. Maybe there
Yeah.
is, and I just haven't thought about it.
No, that's just about right, I would say. Can we take a quick break? I gotta go to the bathroom again.
All right, so that was some of the ones where you're in the small blind. Let's take a look at the same in the big blind.
I just got a message from Brown. It says, thoughts on increasing the stakes for the remainder of the challenge. We could still use big blinds one for side bet and then just play rest of hands at 5K NL or whatever stake you want. I don't want to increase the stakes.
Yeah, no, you just say that you'll say that you don't want to increase the stakes because you're comfortable at the current stakes with your bankroll.
Yeah.
It's just like respectfully declining, and you're giving him a reasonable reason.
Yeah, dude, if I wanted to increase the stakes, I'd just like take a sick crossbook at like a 4 big blind handicap. All right.
Yeah, yeah, just decline and say that you're comfortable with the current stakes due to your own bankroll. Bankroll management. Like if you say that you're disciplined with the current bankroll management, and you should respect that.
Yeah. I actually put off the challenge for like another month. So it was supposed to happen or another like 3 weeks. This is supposed to happen mid-February. And that like people were offering me like these sick crossbooks. And I'm just like, I need like a bigger bankroll so I can take more of myself in this challenge. So I like put it off for another 3 weeks so I could play on the PA sites and make more money. So I could take more of myself. But yeah, anyway.
All right, well, it's worked out so far. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. From now on, just like you've gone to the stage where you built the bankroll and you've taken the stakes that you want. Don't change it.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought that was funny. He asked. I'm like, oh, I kind of wonder if like we get to 15K hands and the stakes don't increase, like if he's just gonna be like, I quit. Like it's just not worth my time.
Potentially. You could also realize that he's losing. But he's yeah. All right. Bet call. Bet call. Bet call.
I looked at this one in GTO Wizard, and it's so it it bets the flop quite often. It pure barrels the turn. So my specific hand pure barrels the turn, and sizing was fine. On the river, it always bets like 35% pot. It never shoves, and shoving is like a 1 or 2 big blind mistake.
Yeah.
And then he calls with quads.
Yeah.
I think that was like day 1 of the challenge too. This one. Oh yeah, this one. So I remember this hand very vividly because I did not have a time bank. And like as soon as I sent it in on the river, I'm like, fuck, he has like a ton of queen 10 and I don't have a blocker. And
Yeah.
I checked in GTO Wizard after. It loses like it's like a 3 big blind plus EV river bluff, but it's only a 2 big blind plus EV river jam. And it bluffs its stack off with like with the queen blocker and the flush draw. So you'll have some like queen 4 or like queen. What even do we have here? Oh, we have like queen 6 of spades and queen. No, just queen.
Okay,
6.
so this hand was poorly played.
Yeah, yeah. It wants to block bet the river. And I knew that as soon as I sent it in. I'm like, dude, if I had a time bank, I would block bet the river. Everything would have been great. This one, it mostly donks the turn, and my hand basically pure donks the turn. It's not like an EV mistake to not donk the turn, but still mostly donks the turn. If you don't donk, it's a pure call, and then on the river, it is a pure call. I think we discussed this one as well.
That's fine. Okay, let's go through the decision process.
My hand is indifferent. Is he under bluffing or over bluffing? Unsure. And good blockers, bad blockers, good blockers. Like on earlier streets, I also understand that like equity to improve is going to be more important than your blockers. And as you get to later streets, the blockers matter more.
Yeah, so like that's a part of the decision tree. Like on earlier streets, you probably have equity to improve before your blocker decision.
Yeah, especially on earlier streets.
So equity to improve.
Yes, it's a better hand call than like the under pairs, obviously, because you can improve to 2 pair, and trips.
And then your blockers are reasonable too. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and now it's just like all blockers, and my blockers are. I mean, like I'd rather have
go through the decision tree again. No, go through the decision tree again. So you go through it every single time, right?
Yes.
Because it's a different spot.
Yeah. So it isn't different. I don't know if he's over bluffing or under bluffing. I'm trying to think because a lot of it depends. I expect him to pure jam all of the low straight draws, but it's just a question of like at what frequency is he stabbing the turn with the low straight draws, and so that'll affect the frequency he has them on the river to pure shove them. So it like the turn decision factors into the river decision. That said, I can't like I don't know.
So you don't know about the turn, so you don't know about the river, so it's just blockers now.
Yeah, so good blockers, and like I'd rather have Jack 9, but Jack 8, we don't have a club. It's not that bad.
Yeah, and then you check it in the solver, and it says at 0 EV, right?
Yeah. If you want, I can check it now, but yeah, it's gonna be like basically indifferent.
Yeah. So when you get to this decision, like when you in game or when you're studying the hands that you played, you go through the decision tree like for when you're making these call downs. If you get really late into the decision, you're still not sure, and like you need to think about flipping a coin, like it means that you should always check it in the solver, because then you're going to update. Like this is literally the learning process. So like you've made the decision tree to help simplify your decisions. You get to the end and you're still not sure. You check it in the solver immediately to update the previous decision tree that you just went through in your mind.
Yes.
So you're going through and updating everything.
Yes.
So have you done this with this hand?
Have I run this hand in the sim?
Have
No.
you, yeah, or have you looked at it in Wizard? All right, let's take a look at it Wizard now then.
Okay.
So you can just share your screen.
Yeah. So it was
7 of clubs, 7 of clubs, 4 of clubs, king of diamonds.
7 of clubs, 4 of clubs. Whoops. Jack 8 offsuit. Can bet the flop. I think you mostly want a club, but you can bet super tiny if you don't have a club.
Jack of hearts. And then 4 of spades. All right, so let's go through the turn decision again. So check, bet, call.
Yes, I think you bet 75%.
Yeah, 75%.
Pure call on turn. Then river 4 of spades.
And then he rips it in.
Check, jam. Yeah. I guess based on my suits, it's a pure call, but it's indifferent, you know, plus 1/20th of a big blind.
All right, great. So yeah, I mean, based on your suits, it was pure call, and you made the call. So you see how like the decision tree led you to the right decision, and when you still weren't sure, you go back and check things, and you're like, okay, the suits were the deciding factor here. My decision was correct. I can be more confident in my decision process the next time I see the spot. And this is the learning process, because you like, I'm trying to drill into you this decision tree for these sort of river spots, right? Because it will really help simplify a lot of things, and then it will allow you to very quickly learn how to get a lot better at making these kinds of decisions. Because once you go through the decision tree, right, things become very easy.
Yes, I agree.
And then it also becomes very easy to learn, update your own understanding of the game. All right, let's go back to my screen. We'll keep going.
I think it's possible that part of the reason why I have difficulty articulating my exact thought process is during the river decisions, I try to rethink through the entire hand and think like, okay, how is he constructing his flop range and his turn range? How does that lead to his river decision? And how does that influence the probability as a bluff or a value bet? I like the question, is he over bluffing or under bluffing? There's a lot, like I use a lot of brain power to try to answer that question, because that is like, obviously, is my hand indifferent is going to be a lot more important than is he over bluffing or under bluffing, because if I have 8 high, I'm not going to call the river. But
but like the thing is, like, if you do it in this order, you don't end up making that same mistake with the king queen hand.
I agree that the order is important, and I also agree that the king queen hand is terrible.
Yeah. So you're making this decision, right? So like the decision tree helps because you go indifferent. So it's relatively easy to answer that question, because you have to be, below his value and above his bluffs. All right. And then the next step, over bluffing, under bluffing, you can just say that you're not sure. All right. You can give some time to think about it. And if you run out of time, just say that you're not sure, and then you go to the next bit. Okay, so because you have an escape. You have an escape between underbluffing, overbluffing, not sure, right? So the not sure is your escape, right? If you just think about it for a bit and you're not sure, you go to the next bit, because the next bit it means that you're not sure, so we just assume that he's playing close to GTO,
Yes.
right? And then you check blockers slash equity to improve, right? And then if you're not sure about that, then you flip the coin. So that's this decision tree helps you speed up the decisions and allows you to not get bogged down in any particular part.
Yes. Oh, this one.
Okay, so you overbet the river and he rips it into you.
I remember I had very low time bank here,
Yep.
which was very
So
frustrating. I think I
frustrating,
RNG'd
but
this one, because I
okay.
like I
So
couldn't I
I'm not
couldn't.
I'm not asking you about at the time.
Yeah,
I'm
I
asking you
understand.
to try it now. All right. So now we'll go through it again.
Okay.
So understand
I'm,
how you felt at the time, right? And you led to
yeah.
the call, and the call was unfortunate. Let's go
Mhm.
through it again. Now, are
It
you
isn't
indifferent?
different.
Under
Um,
bluffing, over bluffing.
he is. I don't know.
Good blockers,
And
bad
then
blockers.
uh, probably indifferent. It's like because he could do this with the nut flush, and then he could also do this with a boat. So we block the nut flushes, we unblock the boats. So
And what
indifferent block.
about what about blocking bluffs now?
Um, Block the bluffs. He. I think his bluffs are going to have most of the same cards as his value hands here. I think his bluffs are probably going to be like ace nine, with the ace of clubs, or like
All right, great. Okay, and so we're not sure. We flip a coin. Did you randomize?
I think so.
All right,
Uh,
great.
it, it
So we've gone
it's
through the
also
entire
possible
decision tree.
that I no, I don't think I
So
did randomize this because
okay,
so
so
my thought process was I thought he was over bluffing because he was representing such I didn't think he would check back two pair on the flop. Or wait a minute. I didn't think
so it went.
eh, eh,
You
yeah.
pot the turn.
That's crazy.
You pot the turn.
That's
So it could definitely you could definitely have a bunch of one pairs that become two pairs, especially with the queen.
yeah, for sure.
And now the queen fills up
Yeah.
a lot of boats.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Okay, so we've gone through the entire decision tree now, and we decided that you need to flip a coin. So we get to
Mhm.
the end, right? And now we go back and check in the solver. Let's
Yes.
do that now. So you share your screen and check in the solver.
I am not so sure the solver will have overbets here. I think the river bet in hindsight might have been a bit greedy, but it's like it's good as an exploit because Brandon's just such a sick station. So the flop was Jack 9 6 with the
Six.
6 of spades.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Flop check through. Turn was the queen of clubs, completing the flush. I pot the turn, which is probably fine. It is fine. You can bet whatever size you want. Calls, and the river is the
Yeah, just an
queen of
offset
something.
queen.
Solver bets 150% with my hand 100% of the
Yeah,
time.
you bet two.
You 200%.
You
I
bet
think.
what did you bet? You bet 200, that's fine. Hang on.
He shoves with queen 6, and my hand is indifferent.
Sorry about that. It was a phone call.
Oh, okay.
Um So yeah, so you bet he jams into you, and there you go. You're indifferent. Okay.
Mhm.
So the decision tree gave you the same answer as the solver,
Yes. Yes.
right? So you can see how powerful the decision tree is in order to make sure that you're not making big mistakes.
Mhm. I agree. I agree. I feel
And
like
it's a lot quicker, right? Because you get here and you don't have to like worry so much about the time bank, right? So you're not using
yeah.
up all of your time bank all the time, right? Because
Mhm.
you're going through a decision tree. I mean, I know like it seems like a big decision is a lot of money, and you know you need to think things through. And sure, like you can use up all your time bank, but if you go through the decision tree, you end up making sure that you don't make a big mistake, right? And that's what
Yes.
matters.
Yes. I agree. I agree. I feel like the king queen suited hand because
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
was
You made a mistake, and we've realized why because you weren't using this decision tree. So we're making this decision tree. I'm drilling it into your head so you never make that mistake again. Okay?
I
Yeah,
understand. Yes.
great.
I made a mistake. I understand that.
Yes, 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 yes. And we're working towards preventing you from doing it again by drilling in the decision tree. And we're seeing how good the decision tree is by going through these hands and then checking the answer in a solver when we're not sure. Yeah. And it seems to be doing pretty good.
I understand. The king queen suited hand was one hand.
Yeah, don't worry about the king queen two. That's done, right? Like we
Okay.
we're
Okay.
we're good. That's behind us. We just need to
I
make sure that
feel
in the
like
future you don't make the mistake again. I don't care about any of the mistakes that you made in the past. I care about you not making those same mistakes again in the future. Does that make
I
sense?
understand. I understand. Can I finish? I
Yeah.
feel like the king queen suited hand gave you the impression that I am a pretty bad poker player in general. Just like
Uh,
I feel like you saw that and
no.
you're like,
People make mistakes. It's okay to make that mistake, as long as you make it once. That's fine. What I'm trying to get into
I
you, I'm
think
trying to drill into you that you don't make it again, because I'm afraid that if I don't do this now, when it comes to hand, 12,053 or some shit, you make that mistake again, you lose another 100 big blinds or whatever,
okay.
right?
I
Because
I
because
know.
because
I know.
if
I
I
feel
if I
like you
if I
think
take
that
an
the king
hour
queen
to
suited hand is indicative of a
no, no,
very
no, no, that's
running
not it. That's not it. That's not it.
problem in my
That's not
thought
it. That's not it.
process.
Yeah, look, there's always going to be problems in people's thought processes when they're playing poker. Okay, I've
Yes.
I've coached a lot of people. All right, I've coached a lot of
Mhm.
people, and everybody has problems with their thought process. Okay,
Yes.
myself included. Like
Mhm.
I know I have problems with my thought processes, and I'm trying to drill in particular decision trees into you so that when you face a similar situation in the future, you have something to fall back on. All right.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure you did this sort of shit in the army, right? There's there's certain decisions that you make as default when you don't know what to do. There's certain
Yes.
decision trees that you go through. This is an example of one that I'm trying to drill into you. And we're drilling it in because the more that you practice it, the quicker it becomes. And then you don't eat up in your time bank. And you can
Mhm.
spend more of your time bank thinking about whether he's bluffing or under bluffing. Because that's really the important bit. Okay.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
you know that you've got an escape valve when you run out of time.
Yes.
Right. And then you can still make the correct decision
Mhm.
given the fact that you're unsure. Right. So
Yes.
making these decisions under this level of uncertainty is very important. Okay. So the reason why we've done it in this particular order, like I could have swapped the orders around with, the under bluffing, over bluffing thing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But I've chosen to do it in this order because it allows you to spend more time at the beginning thinking about whether he's over bluffing or under bluffing, which is where you're going to make EV,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So the highest EV is to make sure that you don't end up making a mistake by calling a hand that's not indifferent, or folding a hand that's not indifferent. And then the second thing is bluffing, under bluffing, and the third thing is just double checking double checking yourself in an escape valve that maybe you could make a particularly, that you don't end up making a small mistake, right? So the big mistakes get thought about at the beginning of the decision tree, and then the small mistakes get corrected for at the end of the decision tree. And then as we go through it, you update the decision tree, right? Like you update your knowledge of whether or not you made the correct decision. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. I don't think that you're a bad player, so you shouldn't be thinking about that. I'm just trying to make sure that you don't make a big mistake like that anywhere more in the challenge, right? Because it's my job as the coach to make sure that if once I've identified some error in your thought process, to try to correct the error, right? And I can only correct that error if you work with me and like practice this, because like I'm trying to stamp a new thought process on top of your old thought process, which you've been using for like 3 years as you've been playing poker and getting to this level. I'm trying to stamp a new thought process on top of that to basically push out any mistakes that you made in the past. And I'm sure you made a lot of mistakes in the past. The new thought process will push out all of those mistakes simultaneously, right? In these spots on the turn of the river where you're close to indifferent. Okay.
I agree. I think.
All right. Let's
a better
keep
way
going.
to think about it than stamping a new thought process over is refining the previous thought process, because my previous thought process was like very, very similar to what we're going through now. It may not have been as ordered, but it had all the components of the new thought process.
Yep. Sure.
I think we're just like refining,
refining, sending a new one. The old thing gets translated into the new one, and the new one is more correct, more updatable, and quicker to action, right?
Okay.
And that's what's important, because you have a time back. You only really have 45 seconds at most, right? Probably closer to between 15 and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
To make these decisions. You can't be spending all of your time, and we're making the decisions very quickly based on the important stuff at the start. Important stuff. Am I close to indifferent in terms of am I above his value and below his bluffs? Next bit, is he bluffing, over bluffing? Because those are the high EV features, and the lower EV features are the blockers and then flipping the coin, or the equity to continue. So I'm about for 2 hours. How do you feel about continuing, or do you want to do some of this by yourself? Because I think you should be doing. I think you should try this drill. Like, just go through all the hands where like you called the river and got the showdown, or didn't get the showdown, right? Like, we'll just and then just do it by yourself, okay, and go through it down. So write down the questions. Let's write down the questions. Okay, so let's make a new spreadsheet. Okay. Yeah, where is that spreadsheet that you've got? You sent me this one. Okay, look, let's make another spreadsheet.
I got it. Like, indifferent, over bluffing or under bluffing, blockers, RNG. It's like a flow chart. It's like a process.
Exactly. Yeah, it is a flow chart. So we're gonna go call this calling rule. Okay. So the questions are indifferent. Yes. Under bluffing. Or over bluffing. Unsure. Okay. So under bluffing fold. Over bluffing call. Unsure, you go to this next step where it's good blockers. Set equity. Good blockers. Set equity. Good blockers call. Good blockers fold. Unsure. Coin flip. Okay, and then here at every stage you check in solver, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is the spreadsheet. Now, what I want you to do is go through the hands where, and we're just going to filter it, where we just called a river bet. Sorry, face a river bet. Around 79 hands. Right, you got a lot of these. And there's going to be a lot of small ones as well, where it's like pretty easy. Okay, and just go through it, and just go through this. We've already gone through a bunch of the ones that went to showdown. There's going to be a bunch of ones that didn't go to showdown that we haven't gone through yet, and some of the hands in the middle, and some of the hands that you won, right? Sort of closer to like here. Some of these hands. Hang on. Right, some of these hands where yeah, so and you just go through the decision tree, and then when you get to the end of this, what I want you to do, right? If it's no, then yeah, you go to the next hand. So for now, next hand. Right, so you don't even worry about it, and this is mainly for the these river decisions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for this drill, what I want you to do is you go through all of this for a bunch of the hands that we haven't talked about, and then once you get to the end, you check in the solver, and I want you to copy and paste the hand history in the solver, and then your decision, right? And then how that compared to the solver, whether you got it correct, whether you got it wrong.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll share this with you, and I'll let you edit it, and you just go through and just try it, and it'll take this one's you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll share that with you, and you just go through it, go through a bunch of the hands, and it'll be a grueling process, but you'll get really good and really quick at it once you've done it 100 times. Yeah.
I feel like I've done this like 200,000 times.
Yeah, you probably have, but not like this. So we do it 100 times to update the old version into the new version. So you're good at the old version, but because we've got a new version of it, we need to link the two together.
Okay.
Okay. So old version, which you've well practiced in, new version, which helps speed up the decision process and make it more accurate. And now we're linking the two together by doing this drill. Okay. And then when you're in game, you'll kind of naturally make the decision tree when you recognize the spot where you're indifferent. Right.
Yes.
You'll naturally go underbluffing, overbluffing, and then that's where you spend the time thinking about it. And then when you're unsure, you get to your escape. Okay. Great. So we'll bring off. So yeah, I expect you to do that. And next weekend we'll go through some of the mistakes that you made. So basically, I just want you to populate this this spreadsheet with the things that you checked in the solver, whether you made a mistake or whether you thought it was good, right? And you should see that, you know, with this decision tree, it should be close. So put the hand or the hand number in, and then put your decision and put the solver's decision. And if your decision was call, fold, or coin flip, just put that in, and then put the solver's decision, whether it was call, fold, indifferent. And then it should be pretty pretty good. All right. So do you have any questions?
How much time do you think I should spend on this? And because tomorrow I was mostly planning on drilling the pre-flop stuff.
Yeah, just try this for an hour.
Okay. Yeah, I can do this.
And then try this for an hour. If you like it, keep going. All right. If you're finding yourself making quite a few mistakes, then maybe go for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right. If you find yourself that you're comfortable with it, then just stick with the 1 hour, and then we'll see how we go. Right. But like if we populate the spreadsheet, so I know that, so I can get an idea about how you've been going with it. Just drilling in the flow chart into your brain. So the next time you face decisions where you have a short time bank, you can make the decision quickly and lead to an answer that's not going to be a horrendous mistake, right? Because there is always going to be the situations where you make small mistakes. That's fine. We're trying to minimize all of those.
Yes.
Right. I'm trying to minimize the big ones by making that answer at the first. So indifferent, another way of saying indifferent is ahead of loss, behind value. So yeah, go through all that. Yeah. So anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. So yeah, try that. Try some of the preflop. And I will message you when I've uploaded the flop trainer.
All right. Sounds good.
Great. I'll. So you guys are playing again. Sorry, not tonight. Is it? It'll be tomorrow night for you guys.
2 days from now. Monday. So the 13th, March 13th.
So it's Saturday night your time.
Yes, Saturday night my time. We start Monday afternoon my time.
Okay. So you got the rest of tonight and some of tomorrow to do all that.
Probably like 62 hours from now ish, like 63 hours from now is when we start.
Okay. In that case, we can probably do 1 hour tomorrow, UTC 2300.
Yes.
So that's the usual finish time. That's the usual finish time for
the match. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. So between 6 and 7 p.m.
Can we make it 6:30? I'm probably gonna be eating dinner then. Not to be difficult, but I'll probably be eating dinner at like 6. So if we could move it a half hour, that'd be good.
The thing is, I can finish at. Yeah, let's go half an hour then.
Okay, that's fine.
At 2300 because I need to leave at 0000 during the week for me. Okay. So yeah, let's just do that.
So a half hour,
half hour tomorrow, just to check the stuff that you've studied and go through any questions that you might have, and I'll send you some information about the stuff that I've looked at in the database. All right, great. I'll see you tomorrow, UTC 2330. So yeah, something like 20 hours ish from now.
Yeah.
All right, great. Bye.